Welcome to I Love Cal City. I'm James Robinson, and today we are interviewing for would-be candidates for our California City Council. Would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us why you came to California City and what keeps you here.
Well, my name is Michael Hurles. My wife of 48 years, and I came here in 1980 as a member of the Air Force. We were assigned to Edwards Air Force Base. My enlistment terminated in 84, and we just stayed in the area. In 1983, we moved here to Cal City. And we moved here because I knew that I was going to get out, but I was hoping I could get a job in the civilian world on the base, which I did. So we stayed here. When we arrived in Cal City and started out, Cal City was a beautiful place. They had all of the grass park was good. They had the thing called M cards, which if you owned a house, the golf course, the park, all the things were free. And if you were a renter, it was $30 a year and you got the same benefits. That's back in the days when the lake was pure and clean. They had the waterfall was working, and everything was just great. We decided that we would stay here, just stay in the city.
Michael, you brought something that nobody else has today. You brought a mask with you. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, normally when I go out into public, I have a spouse who is very, very immune suppressed. And I'm seeing a lot of people nowadays. I'm making a lot of contacts. And to protect her, I will normally wear a mask when I'm in the public. I'm not going to wear it here because you couldn't understand what I was saying if I wore it. So this is the exception. Normally when people see me and I'm out amongst a lot of people, you will see me wearing a mask. That's specifically to protect my wife. I've been approached a couple times. Why do I wear the mask? That's why. I would love to be a city councilman, but if people are going to vote against me because I wear a mask and protect my wife, so be it. She's more important than the city council.
So what made you decide to run for office?
I'd never really considered running for office of any type. About June timeframe, I was approached by some folks who don't want to be named, and they sat down with me and we had a long talk about why they thought I should run and what they thought I could contribute. After we got done talking, I thought about it for about a month before I made my mind up that maybe they were right and maybe I could make a difference to the course the city is now on. I went ahead and filed papers to run for city council because I think I can make a difference.
Have you held public office before?
I've never held public office, no. As a fire chief on the base, I'm the retired fire chief from Edwards Air Force Base. I retired in 2018. A lot of times the base commander was referred to as the mayor. So we had a system a little bit different than what's in Cal City, but it's set up basically the same way. You had a mayor, he had a staff, which was his council, and then you had all the different departments, water and waste, HR, all of those things we had out there. And I was a member of the staff, and I participated in a lot of the meetings, which were similar, not exact, but similar to what happens here in town. So I'm familiar with how the system is basically. So I think that I bring a new perspective maybe. And again, I think I can make a positive change.
What makes you qualified for this position?
Again, basically what I just told you was working with the system in the Air Force, which is very similar to what California City has with the city council and the city manager.
So in your opinion, what is the proper role for city government?
Okay, in California City, city government is a city manager form of government, which means the city council is running their policies. They set policies. They make contract decisions based on input that they receive from city staff, give direction to the city manager on issues that they have. They basically set the groundwork for where the city wants to go and then they set the map on how to get there. And in that process, they also protect the citizens and the funding that they're responsible for.
So, as a representative of the people, what methods will you use to stay in touch with the mood, interests, concerns, and desires of the public?
It's basically what I'm doing now. One, I do a lot of monitoring of social media. There's a lot of discussion out there. There's a lot of complaints about things they think the city is not doing that they should be doing. So I monitor that. I don't necessarily take it as this is the correct answer. I do a little background. One of the ways I do background is I've been writing on dial-a-ride, and as people get on and get off, I talk to them and see what their concerns are, what they think should happen, what are their issues. I'm also going to different departments of the city and talking to the workers there. For example, yesterday I was at the police department. I had about an hour and a half meeting with Lieutenant Hayes, getting their side of what's going on, where are his challenges, what are the things he needs, what are the blockades that he sees being thrown up in order for him to effectively do his job. I'm doing that again. I went to Public Works. I went down to the city yard and I talked to those folks. And I'm going to continue to do that. I still have departments and places I need to go to get background to make sure that I've got both sides of the story, the council side and the worker side, because sometimes you're getting conflicting information and you got to kind of figure out which is right and which is wrong. And the only way to do that is to have both sides of the story and do a little research to find out which is correct and which is not.
Many council persons see their primary role as one of oversight and guardians of the public finances. As a council person, what can you do to improve the quality of life in California City that doesn't involve the city budget?
Oh, you used the B word, didn't you? You know, it's difficult to separate the budget from all the things that need to be done. But to answer your question, I'm looking to work closely, for example, for bringing businesses in. I want to work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce, and I've already made contact with the Chamber president. We had to sit down. I want to work closely with them on what we can do, the city can do to help them bring businesses in. Their focus should be bringing businesses in and making sure everything is okay with the businesses once they get here. We have a lot of individuals on social media that are in need of food and things. So one of the things I've done is I've contacted One Love Food Ministry. I believe they used to be here in Cal City at one point. And I've contacted them to see if we could have a sit down and talk about bringing them back. I think that's pretty much the kind of things that I will be doing, is going out and personally contacting agencies and businesses to see what we can do to improve things in Cal City.
Which issue or issues do you consider the greatest facing California City, and how will your service as a council person address them?
Okay, the gorilla or elephant in the room is obviously the budget. You can't do anything unless you have the funding to accomplish it. That is going to be my main thrust. I've already gotten information on the budget from the last council meeting I was in. I'm trying to go through it, trying to get all of the nuances, making sure I know where the money is coming from and making sure where the money is going. That is primary. If we don't get the budget straightened out, the city is in deep trouble and very possibly could have to declare bankruptcy at some point, especially with some of the issues, lawsuits, legal fees. We seem to pay an inordinate amount of legal fees in this town. If we don't get that straightened out, we're probably going to go into bankruptcy. I'm also not convinced that all of the money we're supposed to be receiving, we're receiving. And that is going to be another main focus of mine, is to make sure that if a business in Cal City owes money to the city, that we get that money. And we're not being told, well, you know, we're going to give you, this is what we're going to give you. No, this is what you owe us.
So persons running for office state what they will do. This wish list is generally what we all want. Wanting something and having a practical, workable plan to accomplish it are two different things. How will you accomplish the things we all want when others have failed at the same task in the past? What makes your plan different?
What makes my plan different, and you're absolutely correct, there is a wish list out there that we would all probably write down the same items. My personal contacting of businesses and things, organizations, to bring them into the city is, I think, a little bit different approach than we have now. One of the issues that we have in Cal City is everybody wants more businesses. I come from a little town in Northern California that is very similar to California City. It was about the same size, and until Interstate 5 was built and it ran right through the middle of the city, we had the same type of issues there that we have here. The issues that we have here is we have two main thoroughfares, 14 and 58, but they really don't touch the city. And it's very hard to bring in big businesses if you don't have that direct transportation hub. And coming in on Cal City Boulevard isn't really what businesses are looking for. Infrastructure is also a concern of mine in bringing in businesses. If you cannot provide the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the electrical, which isn't a city issue, but it goes into play, then you're not going to be able to bring in businesses anyway. That is something else, again, with the budget that we need to look at to try and fix the infrastructure and get that straightened out. No business wants to come in, build their business, Albertsons, for example, build a big store, and then have the water lines in front of their store break every 15 minutes. So infrastructure is also a concern that I will be looking at during my tenure if I'm lucky enough to be elected.
Well, you already touched on it. During every election cycle, candidates promise to bring in new business. It's to increase our tax base, and yet no one seems to succeed. Cannabis came, but the large promised revenue did not follow it. How will you bring business to California City?
Again, working with the Chamber of Commerce for one. Also, I want to go to the different cities around us. I want to go to Tehachapi. I want to talk to their council people. I want to talk to their Chamber of Commerce. I want to go to Ridgecrest and do the same and see what inputs they're getting for what businesses want and need. We've got to be able to get what they want and need. But again, I'll go back to the infrastructure. That is a concern that we're going to have to be able to take care of to bring them in.
So California City has gone through 10 city managers, interim, acting, in the last 7 years. We have experienced a similar turnover in department heads. What will you do to stabilize the city and maintain continuity?
Boy, I wish I had a magic wand and could fix that immediately. We're in a kind of a problem area because the city is in financial straits. That message is getting out. People are not going to want to come in to work here as city managers or department heads if they see this downward trend in the city. One of the ideas that I had about city managers was, since we don't seem to have a lot of luck with all the ones we brought in, maybe we go to a university, and people who are graduating a background and wanting to be city managers, maybe we could get somebody fresh out of school. Might be a little bit cheaper. They could learn on the job, and we could also have a little bit of stability there. Now, the problem with that is, once they got stability, once they learned a job real good, they're probably going to want to go to someplace bigger, and that's going to be a problem we always have. Department heads, I guess the answer is you just have to sit down with the department heads now. What are the issues that they're seeing? Maybe if there's any old department heads that are still living in the city that have left, I want to talk to them. Again, it's getting background. If I had just one thing that I thought was more important than anything else, it's going to be communication. We have got to be able to communicate within the city with the workers, with the department heads, with the council, with the city manager, all of those have got to have clear lines of communication and be able to talk freely. They may come up with something that you really don't want to hear, but you still have to hear it. So communication.
So you've already talked about it. California City is in a financial crisis. We've not had a real budget in more than 2 years. We do not have liability insurance, placing the city at major risk. We're behind on our bills. What can you do as a council member to create financial stability and put us on a sustainable track going forward?
I think I've pretty much already answered that, but the answer that I gave previously was I've got to get into the budget, got to find out where the areas are that we have problems with. I do have a concern. In the last city council meeting, they discussed the budget was 21.2 million minus 20%, I think was the number thrown out. They then talked to the financial director, who couldn't repeat that number and was throwing out 23 million. If your financial director is having problems with the budget, you're in some deep trouble. So it's going to be a long, hard dig into the budget, seeing what's coming in, what's going out, seeing where we can cut. And I think that maybe talking to departments heads and city workers might identify areas where we could save a little bit of money rather than just throw it into a deep hole. So the budget is going to have to be looked at. That's primary.
With the current staff cutbacks, California City will need to be creative in meeting the needs of our community. What will you do to fill the gap?
With the staff cutbacks, we're going to have to look at different ways for staff to accomplish the jobs that they do. We're going to have to look at, for example, maybe I've heard that the roads department now has other assigned duties. So maybe the way that we work this is you get with the department heads, and on Mondays they do nothing but potholes. On Tuesdays they do nothing but water, not emergencies. That's going to have to be done as it comes up. But any water issues come up on Tuesday. Wednesday, maybe they trim branches and leaves off of trees that need to be trimmed. We're going to have to come up with a better way to do things, more efficient than what we're doing now, to try and get some of this stuff done the way it needs to be done in a timely manner.
The Measure C special parcel tax came to an end. The cannabis industry tax has never materialized in any significant way. A new special tax now has failed twice. What's your plan to maintain a functioning city with even fewer finances?
First and foremost, we're going to have to deal with the budget. We are going to have to delve deeply into that budget. We're going to have to look at where the income is coming from and making sure we get all the income that we're supposed to get, which I don't believe we have been. We're going to make sure that there is no waste in that budget, that the money is spent as efficiently as we can spend it, so that we're not, again, wasting money for no reason. That's basically the biggest thing we need to do. The partial tax, I believe we may have to have a partial tax, but we don't label it as public safety. It should be labeled as public services, so we can deal with parks and recs, some of the other things, so the citizens will think, okay, we're getting our money's worth back out of this.
So this next question has complexities to it. There's multiple items on it, so I'll ask you one at a time. But the overall question is, please address each of the following and how you as a city council person can affect or not affect them. The first one is available health care services.
City council really doesn't have a lot to do with health care. That would come under the kind of the heading of bringing in businesses if you wanted to look at it that way. We do have healthcare services here. We have an urgent care that was brought in. We have the medical center, the medical area over off of North Loop. Dr. Shree has been here for years. There's other agencies in there now, I think, that came from Tehachapi. We do have the East Kern Healthcare District that is overseeing the medical care. We have in Cal City, we're very, very fortunate, as small a city as we are, that we have hall ambulance that's staffed 2 ambulances with paramedics for emergency care. The fire department with emergency care has, I believe, 4 paramedics riding those engines every day. Emergency care, you can be sure, is going to be taken care of as best it can possibly be, and you're really getting big city services from a small department and a small ambulance company. I did see on a social media post recently that there is an area, an agency in Cal City that deals with substance abuse, alcohol, and drugs. So we do have, in the long run, we have, I think, adequate medical care. If you're getting into a specialized issue, cancer, heart, then of course we're going to have to go somewhere else. But we're not going to realistically bring a hospital in here. You're not going to realistically bring a cardiologist in here, I don't believe. I think it's too small a population base. I was asked a question at the candidates meeting that we had, and they asked about healthcare and mental health care. And one of my responses to them was, mental health comes with you and me. That's where it starts. I need to keep an eye on you and make sure you're okay. And you can keep an eye on me and make sure I'm okay. That's where it really starts. And then if you need additional help, you can go to those other agencies, Dr. Shree, the fire department, the ambulance, if you have to be taken care of. But that's really where it takes care of. And I guess what I'm saying is citizens in California City, like it or not, are going to have to step up and take care of each other and do a little bit more of the things that were done by others.
The second item is local business. Our availability of common stores and places of entertainment is very limited. Many stores just don't last here. Is there anything that you can do to bring in more business?
What I intend to do is I intend to work with the Chamber of Commerce very closely. They have or should have the connections to deal with businesses and trying to bring them in. I would also go to surrounding communities, to Tehachapi, Ridgecrest, talk to their council members, talk to their chambers to see what their businesses are needing and how they're bringing them in, and maybe bring some of those ways and means here to Cal City. But I also want to go into some of the businesses, and as a candidate, it's kind of difficult. As a council member, it would be much easier. But talk to the people running the businesses now. What are the issues they're dealing with? I'm hearing on social media and seeing on social media that a lot of the landlords are raising prices to where they can't afford to be in the business anymore. That's kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because if a landlord raises the price of the business, the rent, and the business leaves, what's the odds he's going to get somebody else in there? That's something I think maybe we need to work on a little bit, possibly with the landlords also, because it's ultimately going to help them have revenue coming into them. An empty store isn't bringing revenue in. One of the things I did do was I talked to the gentleman who owns Napa. When they left, I was very concerned about why he left. I talked to him. He told me that he actually had owned 5 Napa stores, different areas. He sold those back to corporate. Corporate was the one who made the decision to move Napa out. So that's going to be one of those things that we're just not going to be able to take care of.
How about the generally poor appearance of our city?
We do have a problem, and with the layoffs of city workers that are no longer available to take care of all of the things that we would like to make look nice and tidy, the realistic side of this is we're going to have volunteer groups come together, and we're going to have to do some of the cleanup with volunteer groups. That's just the way it's going to be until we get the budget settled and maybe get some of the employees hired back to take care of this. Another concern I have, and it goes over to how do you bring in businesses. When businesses come in, they'll drive down Cal City Boulevard, but they'll also go down the side streets and they'll take a look at the general condition of the city. And very bluntly, the general condition of the city isn't all that good, because you'll drive by a whole bunch of yards that just have junk and maybe weeds that are waist high in the middle of the yards. People see that. We're going to have to figure out a way for the people in those areas to clean up those areas to make the city look better. It's going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit them, because if they don't have a job, a business might come in and they might get a job in one of those businesses. It is also going to benefit the city in total, because we bring in more businesses, we bring in more revenue.
How about laws and unfunded mandates from Sacramento which work at the detriment of our city?
I would like to say that we'll just ignore those mandates, but that will get us in enough trouble that we'll have to pay more for the lawyers. And that's something we don't want to do. If Sacramento mandates things, what we need to do is we need to get together with another group of cities from this area, and we need to go to Sacramento, send representatives to Sacramento, and we need to talk to our representatives there, explain what the repercussions of their mandates are, and see if we can get them overturned or not put into play to begin with. But if Sacramento mandates stuff, you really don't have an option. As much as we'd like it, you can't overlook it.
How can the public help you and the city be successful if you're elected?
Communicate with me their concerns, which I will then take to the council. Not all concerns are going to get addressed. If you have a dog barking next door, I'm not bringing that to the council. But there may be valid major issues out there that we need to address. So communication is going to be key. Citizens need to discuss it with their council members, me included if I'm lucky enough to be elected. And then we will deal with it at that level to see if we can come to a good ending and a good result for everyone. But we have to be able to talk.
Final question. Describe the changes and improvements that we can expect to see at the end of your term if you get elected.
Number one will be the budget. I want to take a deep dive into the budget. I want to see where we have funds coming in, making sure the funds we're supposed to be getting, we're actually getting. I need to make sure that the funds we're expending are done efficiently and they're not wasting money for something that we could possibly not have to do or do in a more efficient manner. So the balancing of the budget is critical. I would like to have more businesses brought in from the methods that I had previously outlined that I would like to do. I would like to have more businesses, which will result in more revenue, which hopefully will help with the budget. Those are the things I think that hopefully count on if I get elected in. Also, the infrastructure. I want to take care of the infrastructure so that if businesses want to come in, we have the capability to meet their needs.
Michael, finally, why don't you tell the people of California City why they should vote for you on November 5th?
As I said, my wife and I have moved here in 1983. We have been here in the good times, and we've watched the slow decline of the city. When I was approached, I wasn't really thinking about running for council or anything else. The individuals who approached me thought and think that I can make a difference. I, after long thought, believe I can make a difference. So I believe that I can make a difference. I want to make a difference to the city that I live in. I want to make a difference for myself and for the other community members of this city. I would like to let everyone know that I am funding my own campaign. I am taking no donations from any source. My wife and I own our home outright. I do not have any business connections with anybody in the city. I don't owe anybody in the city anything. So any vote that I would make on council, if I was elected, fortunate enough to be elected, would be a vote that the citizens of this community can believe are the best for the city and for the citizens who live here. My name is Michael Hurles. I'm a retired fire chief from Edwards Air Force Base, have 42 years of fire service, and I'm really hoping that the people who view this will find enough positive information that they will be willing to vote for me.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
On behalf of I Love Cal City, we hope that you come on out and vote on November 5th.